Hey there, Sammy here, your host of Digital Marketing Therapy. Thank you for listening today. I am so excited to be talking with Brittany about ways to stay organized, ways to stay structured, and how working from home cannot be such a mess. I don't know about you, but this week we started homeschooling, online learning for our kids. And so again, my schedule had just changed a bit. And so we're working through that and creating workspaces and all that good stuff. So the timing of this podcast was perfect for me to kind of reevaluate my day and what I'm doing, my tasks and all that good stuff. So I'm talking with Brittany May, and Brittany is a digital strategist and business coach for women entrepreneurs focused on helping them create smarter systems to scale simply. After running her first seven-figure business the wrong way and having it take over her life, she is now passionate about helping moms structure their businesses in a way that are not only profitable, but in a way that works for them and while raising their family. So it was an awesome conversation that we have. I think you're going to get some good stuff out of it. I love talking organization. We're going to have a ton of resources in the show notes that you can find at thefirstclick.net. But before we get into this episode, it is brought to you by my guide, 9 Ways for Nonprofits to Make More Money Online. Head on over to thefirstclick.net/fundraise to download this freebie. It's super awesome and it has some great things that you can do right away. So download the guide, pick the one thing that you can get done quickly, see results with quickly. But I think it'll really help you with some ideas for your website, for online outreach, brand awareness, but mostly to help you get those donors coming to you and giving you their money, because that's what we need for you guys to be able to continue to serve your amazing community. So thefirstclick.net/fundraise. Let's get into it. You're listening to the Digital Marketing Therapy Podcast. I'm your host, Sammy Bedell-Mulhern, and each week I bring you tips from myself and other experts, as well as hot seats with small business owners and entrepreneurs to demystify digital marketing and get you on your way to generating more leads and growing your business. Please join me in welcoming Brittany May to the podcast. Brittany, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
And we're talking about productivity and organization and just the chaos of working from home and schedules. And I love talking about this so much. But why is this like a topic that you love to talk about or that, is your jam?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we were laughing about it before we hit record about how we could talk about this all day.
Yep.
But it's okay. So business is hard. Being a mom is hard. And then when you slap them together, it can be absolute chaos.
Yes.
So I think it's so important to have people like you with your podcast and these different platforms, and to just be able to speak to this community, because running a business as a mom looks entirely different than someone who does not have kids, or, so it takes a whole different strategy and a whole different system in order to have a profitable business and not lose your mind.
Yeah. And it might not even be just kids, like I now have my husband working in my house as well. You might have, extended family that is staying with you now, whatever it might be. Like there's just so many more distractions.
Yeah. These are like the craziest times now. So kind of everybody, I feel like, has been thrown into this, whether they were used to it or not. So everyone's kind of getting a taste of the working mom life, right, so to speak.
Well, and I feel like, I've been working from home since I started this business. So like 3.5 years. And I feel like I had my routine down, and now it's just about getting a different normal daily routine so that you don't feel like you're in chaos all the time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I think you definitely have to be flexible and adjust and different. Like I was telling you, my youngest, she's 8 months old right now. So what I need now is completely different than what I needed before she was here. And in another 5 months, it will change again. So,
for sure,
it's just different seasons of both your kids and your business, and you've got to kind of pivot and adjust as needed.
So when you start to pull together kind of that structure structure or systems? Like I know everybody kind of works a little bit differently. So like kind of what are the first steps that you consider when you're trying to kind of put some systems in place for your day-to-day routine?
Yeah, absolutely. So I always say that you need to be absolutely unapologetically profit focused because as a mom, our time is finite. So you need to make sure that you're pouring your energy and your time into the right things first. So before you even get to the next step, you need to make sure that the things that make it onto your to-do list are absolutely top priority and are going to be bringing in, that profit in your business and being what is pulling you forward.
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. And then are you a fan of like blocking time or how do you kind of figure out where to put those activities during your day?
Yeah. So, like what I teach my clients, I call it the self systems, and everybody works so differently. And so, and even just for that example, like blocking of time, I used to be a huge fan of blocking of time, and that's how I did everything. And I loved it and I thrived. And now, well, with the 8-month-old and everything else, it's my time's being interrupted so much that no longer worked for me. So I do not block my time anymore. It's more like project and task based, but it's definitely, you need to lean into how you work best and like own it, and then be aware of places that you are more weak maybe, and come up with systems that help you with that. So if you are one of those people that like once you get into the routine of things that you just like fly with it, then blocking would definitely be something that you should look at and maybe just, pick a day. That's what I used to do. I used to do theme days. And so I was like, okay, Mondays, I'm going to be doing all my written content, and then you can just get into the groove of that and run with it. And then Tuesdays, maybe you could do graphics or advertising or, whatever that looks like for you and your business.
Yeah, I know for me, I try and like to do things that way because then I feel like my brain is in that mode. It doesn't work so much all the time, but I do like to do that when I can, especially when it's creative things like, having a writing day or graphics, I think is super helpful. I also find that to be helpful on tasks like data entry and things like that I hate doing or invoicing or whatever. If I know that I just have that blocked off like one day a month, it's much easier for me to just like power through and then not have to think about doing it again.
Yeah, for sure. Like I found with me, I was being interrupted so many times by my two kids that, the block thing, it was like out the window. So I actually am really into the Pomodoro technique right now. And it's just 20 minutes. You pick one thing and you do it for 20 minutes. And I'm also like my personality, I get bored very easily.
Yeah.
So for me, like switching back and forth, like it keeps me energized and it keeps me super focused because I'm enjoying it. And I find when I go past that point, one, either I already have a kid in my office and it's not happening anyway,
right.
Or two, I'm like kind of dragging because I'm like losing my focus and, like kind of my mind's already wandered.
And do you find that the Pomodoro method also helps kind of combat perfectionism and the fact that maybe we could get through tasks faster, but we allow ourselves too much time to get them done?
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I think that's so yeah, it definitely helps with that. Because I think you like are watching the clock and you're like, oh my God, I've got to get this done. And I'm like a huge believer in however much time you give yourself to do something is how much time it's going to take. And I know that sounds like flippant, but seriously, because if you give yourself 8 weeks to finish that project, you're going to suck up 8 weeks, whether you're obviously not going to be using your time very efficiently, but it will take that full 8 weeks. But once you start putting deadlines on it or the timers or whatever, you find, that you can definitely turn out things a lot quicker, which is, I'm always a fan of.
For sure. So talk to me a little bit about how you manage or ideas that you have, in our businesses, like, if you have a fundraising event that's coming up or you're launching a product or a service, like those deadlines, like the timing in front of that gets crazy as far as how much work you need to put into it compared to a regular season when you're just maybe maintaining and, reaching out to customers, clients, whatever. So how do you kind of flip your schedule or track that to make sure that you're still not getting overwhelmed and stressed out by all of the things?
Yeah, definitely. I always like to work backwards. So if there's like a hard deadline or anything needs to be done, then you start there and then you basically just break your project down going backwards. Like, okay, well then I'll need this piece completed, at the halfway point or whatever. And then like I wish you could see me right now, like surrounded by lists. Like I'm a giant list person. So like my lists have lists and I'm not really entirely kidding on that. But it's like once you then break down the project pieces, then I take it all the way down to the day level and break it up into those bite-sized manageable pieces. I am a huge fan. I pick 3 a day, and that's all I care about getting done for the day. And then I can pat myself on the job and on the back for a good job and, be done for the day. So yeah, I think it's definitely, you need to break it up into those actionable pieces and then put it on the schedule, because if you just are staring at this giant project to be done, it's overwhelming and you don't know where to start. And then before you know it, it's the due date and you're like, I haven't done anything.
Right. Well, and I think it's overwhelming to create those lists as well in the beginning, but then it's almost like you've created your template. And then the next time that event comes around or the next time your launch comes around or whatever, you can just take that just change the dates.
Yes, absolutely. Like I full-heartedly believe that you should never do anything more than twice. Otherwise, you need to have a system in place for it. Or like you said, a template or, your own swipe file, just because you're putting all the value and doing all the hard work once. Like don't make yourself do it from scratch again.
Absolutely. So because you said you're surrounded by lists. So are you a paper person or do you have a project management tool that you like to use?
Both. So ironically, yeah, I'm a digital strategist. However, I am a paper person. So like there's just something, but it's more of my thought process I have to put down on paper. Yeah. And then once I've kind of like mind mapped it out, then I like to go and put it in, in digital format one. So then you can like copy and paste it. Your team can have access to it, and right. You don't lose it because hello, paper. But, so yeah, like I'm a huge fan. I have a team Trello board. So everyone on my team, we've got our swipe files in there. We have templates. We have, all of our projects broken down. And then we also use Monday. Huge fan of that. And then I also use Asana kind of similarly, as the paper. That's probably the closest one to like actual paper for where you just like kind of mind map out your projects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We use ClickUp.
Okay.
For our team, we really like it, but yeah, similar. I'm a paper person as well. Like I have my daily 3, I use a full focus planner. I don't know if you have a planner that you love. But it's amazing when you can write down, like, I need to work on this project and I'm going to do it on this day. And you just go ahead and write it down. There's something about like it taking it out of your brain and you're like, okay, there's space for that. So I don't have to hold that. I don't have to think about it anymore. I know what I'm doing today. And I know that I've put time aside for this or time aside for that. And yeah, I'm with you. Writing things out is just something that helps me process so much better than typing it on the computer.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm waiting for it to arrive. I ordered those remarkable things and it's supposed to be feel like paper, but it's digital. So I'm going to test it out and see if it works.
Yeah. My daughter draws on her iPad a lot. Okay. And so, we got her a new film cover for it. I don't know what it's called. Maybe it's the same thing. I don't know, but yeah, it's supposed to mimic paper as well.
Nice.
So we'll have to see how that works. Yeah, I love it. So relieving stress. So we're, scheduling things out, we're getting things organized, we're coming up with our daily schedule. What other kind of day-to-day things do you include in your day. I just said day quite a few times. Like when you feel like the pressure's mounting or your to-do list looks a little bit too long that day, like how do you kind of manage day-to-day stress?
Yeah, definitely. I think first and foremost is don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
And like, I am the worst at that, like, honestly. And it's kind of funny timing of this, but I finally waved the white flag last week, and we had a nanny that started this week, and it has already been
right.
like, oh, like the skies opened up, and it's been amazing. And just being able to have 3 days where I can focus and get stuff done without being interrupted. So yeah, but it doesn't even have to be a nanny. It could be a spouse. It could be just going and taking a break. Because it is overwhelming, and it can be stressful, and it can be too much some days. And, you can have, but then you have great days in your business or in mom life too. But you just have to not be afraid to ask for help. And, if you're really struggling in a certain area, then find somebody or find something that can help alleviate that. Like for me, my youngest, she went through, it was teething, and it was literally just like screaming. And I was like, I can't do this. And so it was just I had to adapt around her schedule rather than fighting it, because you're going to end up pulling your hair out.
Yeah. Well, and I know for us, for homeschooling, that's what we've done is, kind of created that schedule. So I know like I'm on duty from 1 to 3, every day. And that's my time compared to when my mom's helping them and when my husband's helping them. Because if I don't do that, then I can't like shut down and just focus on them. Right. Like then it's like them coming into my office all the time. It's, hey, I need help with this. And, like it's distractions all the time, as opposed to like, during this time, this is where you're going to be and this is who you go to. I think, asking for help in that situation is critical, and allowing, like sitting in my office and allowing, if they're struggling with something, like he's got them. I don't need to like jump into mom mode and go help. Like they're good.
Exactly. Yeah. And just even kind of being able to turn that switch off and really fully focus, because that's what I've found just in the last 3 days, because you're constantly, even when I was working and they were like content doing something, you like have your ears out and you're like, are they okay? Are they fine? What are they doing? Or they're awfully quiet now. Like what'd they do?
Right.
So it's nice. Like, okay, they're sorted. I can have full attention.
Well, and from the staffing perspective, it's also kind of, maybe it's time to take that leap and hire an additional person. Maybe it's a VA or an additional admin or somebody to help out as well. Because I think for teams, communicating remotely is challenging and different for some organizations as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I am.
So you're totally fine.
I don't know what I did.
No problem.
I choke and die over here.
Don't worry.
Yeah. So no, I think it's absolutely huge. And I find so many entrepreneurs, they like have that death grip on the $100 bill because they think that maybe their business isn't big enough to support hiring someone or delegating or whatever that looks like. And they're death grip on that $100 bill, whereas they're spinning their wheels trying to figure out maybe something that they don't understand or they're not good at, or maybe they just don't like it, rather than paying that $100 or whatever for, like you said, a VA or someone else to come in and do it probably more efficiently, quicker, better quality. And then that frees up your time to either, spend with your kids or to hone in on what your zone of genius is and really focus on the things that light you up and make you thrive. Because then you're going to have better work. You're not going to be frustrated. And it really just helps move your business forward and easier.
Well, and then going back to talking about creating kind of those templates or the to-do lists and systems, if you've been doing it and you have been tracking it like that, it makes it so much easier to pass off to a person as well in a way that is going to follow how you kind of want things done.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always recommend, like I said, if you're doing it more than twice, like just write down your process as you do it, because then systems don't become this a huge project, like just another to do on your list. You're like, oh, I've got to write out all my systems. Like, no, just do it, like write it down as you do it. And then you can, like you said, hand it off to somebody else. And 9 times out of 10, by the time you're looking for someone, like it's because you're overwhelmed and you don't have enough time. So the last thing you want to do is then go back and figure out like what they need to know and all the systems and stuff. It should already be done for you.
Yeah. Well, and one tip that was given to me once was use a program like Loom or something and just literally record yourself, your screen as you're doing it. Like, because then you don't, if you don't want to write out, if it feels daunting to write it all down. So even if it's like stupid things, like if somebody's going to manage your email for you, like actually record yourself and how you do it, because there's also things that you might forget because it's just second nature to you.
Exactly.
You assume that somebody's going to understand what's in your head, but they don't.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, that's actually what I do. And one of my Loom videos, it was before I had anybody because, I was prepping for that step. So I'm sure my VA thinks I'm ridiculous because it was like, whoever you are, please do this, because there was no person for that position yet. But, so it's kind of funny. But no, it's definitely true. And I feel like when you're documenting your steps just as you do it, it naturally helps you find holes that you didn't even realize. Because like you said, it's just second nature to you. And you're like going through and clicking. Then you're like, oh, writing this down, I realized maybe I could input an extra step here. And that would make the whole thing a lot better.
For sure. So let's talk a little bit about teams. Because let's say you have an existing team and you're wanting to start to implement some of these systems and organization and whatnot. Sometimes it's hard to pull people along. Like when you work in a team, inherently everybody has their own style. Do you have any tips for like team leaders or managers when they want to start to implement a little bit more efficiency and structure in, or just like, maybe their team is only working at the same time for a few hours a day because everybody's working remotely. I mean, I'm kind of rambling here, but I think you understand where I'm going.
Yeah. I'll see what I can do with that. So yeah, I think when it comes to teams, in my interview process, it was huge to understand very well how they not only communicated best, but their kind of personality type, and how they work most efficiently and where they thrive. And I literally tailored their position and their task to them, because just like you want to focus on the things that you thrive at, that's how you want to treat your team members as well. Because one, they're not only going to be happier and your retention rate is going to be a lot higher, but they're going to do a lot better work and they're going to be way more efficient for you. So that's just kind of like one thing. Yeah. But also, so my team, they're all remote. They're literally in different countries. Yeah. So like our team is everywhere, but it's so much fun. Like we have an email chain or on our team Trello board and we all talk to each other and it's so much fun. But like for me, I don't really care when they get it done. Cause it's like, okay, well it's 5:00 here, but they're just waking up, like that doesn't really matter to me. So they have free reign of whatever. I'm more focused on the projects and the tasks, and then they can figure out their own schedule and what works best for them. And also I guess one more tip, same thing, being super profit focused. And I have found that every job should be tied directly to profit in some way. And if you don't know how they're helping bring money in your business, then you need to figure something out. And from that, me and my business manager, we create what we call success metrics. And it helps you track like, okay, each month, like this is what we have to hit. And then maybe here's another goal of like what we would like to hit. And I think that also helps because people don't like gray area. Like they like to understand, hey, like this is black and white. Like this is your job. This is what I expect. You have free reign to, your own schedule and do it the style that you want. But, like you want to make sure the numbers and the data side are very black and white, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So kind of letting go of some of that control and being a little bit more flexible, having team deadlines that everybody understands, tasks, clearly defined tasks that people have, and then let it go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is easier said than done for
sure.
People.
For sure. Yeah. No, it's like, I feel like that's a whole different job, is when if you were a solopreneur and you're bringing on your first contractor, your first full-time employee, it's definitely, it's like leveling up, it's like taking on a whole new role. So yeah, there's going to be growing pains, but everything, I mean, that's what entrepreneurship is, it's just like a giant learning.
Right. Well, and it's, I think, clearly defining, like you said earlier, clearly defining who you want in what role and what types of tasks are best suited for those people. Like that's going to help you give up that control. And it doesn't mean you're going to get it right the first time, but if you don't understand what you need those people to do and how it's going to support the revenue in your business, then you're not going to have that right fit.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll even say personally for my team, we've definitely moved tasks around and we've tweaked projects to as we've gotten to know each other and how we work better. And you kind of figure out what their strengths are, or maybe what they're not so good at. And then you just tweak and tailor things to that to make sure that it just really meshes well together as a team.
Yeah. And I feel like, and maybe you have experience with this with some of your clients, that when it comes to getting things done, we tend to kind of get tunnel vision a little bit in that this position does this job and that's it, as opposed to like what you're saying, that ebbing and flowing that happens a lot more at the early stages of your business. So, I mean, do you challenge some of your clients to be like, we can think outside of the box here. Like this person was hired to do this, but that doesn't mean that things can't change. Like, do you think that's something that holds businesses back from growing as well?
Yeah, definitely. I do not believe in cookie cutter solutions. And I always think like creative problem solving is better. Right. So it's like, here's our problem. So let's figure out how it works best for you and that person and your business, rather than being so worried or like, I don't know, stingy is really the right word, but I think you know what I'm trying to say, trying to fit into, no, it needs to look like this and it needs to be student. Like I am like my nanny this morning texted me. She's like, do you mind if I wear sweatpants today? I was like, girl, I don't care if you show up in a footed onesie. I was like, do you. Like, no, none of that matters. Like nothing has to look a certain way. And when you're the owner of your business, like that is up to you to decide. So don't be held back by what you think it's supposed to look like.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's why some of the companies that you're seeing thrive, company culture is such a huge part of that, and hiring the right types of people and whatever culture you start to create in your business, like you're going to attract those similar types of people.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And like every player on my team, like they have a voice and they have, they are heard and they have opinions, and I want to hear them. Like they have just as much of an input in my business as I do, and I like that. And I want that, because those are the teammates that are amazing, because they feel valued, for one, but then for two, they're going to bring in ideas that you didn't even think about that could be really awesome, rather than just being like, here's your job, do X, Y, Z, then you're done, let them grow and let them build the position around them, rather than just like putting them in a box, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think that's so good. And then that inherently is going to relieve like you said earlier, like your time to be able to be the right person in your own business and kind of create that space and reduce stress. Like it all just kind of comes together.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, I feel like when all those things kind of click into place, yeah, everything just falls into alignment, and it just like business, it's not easy, but it should be simple. And I feel like people are just way overcomplicating it when it doesn't need to be.
Yeah. Well, it's that stress, right? Of if this doesn't work out, then what happens? Fear of,
Right.
I think it's more of like a fear of failure.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, awesome. Well, lots of good stuff in here that we've talked about. Is there any other kind of quick tips or things, mistakes that you see people making when it comes to time management and added stress in their business?
Yeah, I think for sure one of the big ones is not knowing your numbers and not being profit focused. And then they end up spinning their wheels, and before they know it, the whole day is gone and they're like, what did I accomplish?
Right.
So it's like, rather than trying to spread yourself too thin and doing all the things, like just focus on that one profit thing really, really well.
Yeah.
And it just makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. I think that's scary for people because they feel like they have to do all the things in order to make all the money. But yeah, when you focus on one main project or one main service or one main event or whatever, it tends to drive in more revenue because you're laser focused.
Yeah, I have a training on that for how to cut your hours in half, and it goes through all that. And I'd love to give it to your listeners for free.
Yeah, absolutely. We will put that link. That's awesome. We'll put that in the show notes for sure.
Yeah, I'll send that to you. But yeah, it's just all about being profit focused, and don't spread yourself too thin, and have fun.
Have fun. I know, because it should be fun what you're doing.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I love talking organization, and, I think the thing that I'll add, and you probably have something to say about it too, is have grace for yourself. Some weeks are awesome and I nail my organization and I'm in my planner every day and my lists are beautiful. And some weeks it's like, I don't even know what day it is or like what's happening in my life, but you just have to kind of breathe through it and you're not a perfect human being. Nobody is.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I 100% agree with that. I'm always like, give yourself space and then try again tomorrow. It'll always be there tomorrow.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And we will link up, I'll have links to some of the resources that we talked about and Brittany's awesome freebie, or I guess it's not a freebie. Is it a freebie?
It's not, but for your people, because they're awesome. I'll give you a coupon code.
Free for you. I'll be in the show notes at thefirstclick.net/podcast.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, Brittany. A big thank you again to Brittany for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as we had making this podcast. It was super fun. I hope that you'll subscribe wherever you listen, and make sure you head on over to thefirstclick.net/podcast to get the show notes and all of the resources and the coupon code for Brittany's guide. Okay, I will see you guys in the next one.